Well, first off, thank you for having us tonight, and thank you for all the citizens that want to come out and get to know who the candidates are. But before that, I want to thank all the veterans in the room, those who have made it possible for us to enjoy the privilege of voting in this country, and thank you for also the parties that have put this on, and of course the church. So I'm Yvette Herrell. I'm running for the 2nd Congressional District seat. Most of you know me as a state representative. I've been serving for the last 8 years in the House of Representatives. And with that experience comes the knowledge and understanding of this district and what's really at stake. And what's at stake in this election are our shared values. I'm proud to be the only candidate that is pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, endorsed by the NRA, Gun Owners of America, Susan B. Anthony list, and yesterday by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, as well as the National Federation of Independent Businesses. I have always worked hard to put the value of people above politics, because that's what's important and that's how it should be. I have worked across party lines. I have carried many pieces of legislation with co-sponsors on the other side of the aisle. So I know a thing or two about building relationships and getting things done. But this race, there are so many things at stake. Our values, our freedoms, holding the majority of the U.S. House of Representatives, because when I'm talking to people around this district, what people appreciate, they appreciate that we're moving this nation in the right direction. They appreciate the tax reforms. They appreciate that we have the remains of our fallen back in North Korea. They appreciate the negotiations that are going on as it relates to trade. They appreciate what this administration is doing. And I want to stand and be your voice in Washington. For me, this has been a job interview because I want you to know me as an individual, as a Christian, as a state representative, and as your voice in Washington, D.C. It's important that as we work together to bridge the gap on prosperity and what we've seen in our nation over the last several years, your voice is what carries me to the finish line, and your voice is what I represent in Washington, D.C. And again, the stakes in this particular race are very high. We've got to hold our majority. I can tell you that my first vote in Washington will not be for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House, because I believe that we need to continue to move the nation forward, and I think New Mexicans deserve better than that. I know that as I talk to you, we have more in common than not. I know that when we sit around and discuss what is important to each of us, it's the shared values, Christian values, family values, life, Second Amendment, doing business without so much government. So I would appreciate your vote and you thinking about the candidates and the answers tonight. And just remember, this is our opportunity. This is how we keep America moving forward. And thank you again for being here and taking the time to see us.
Good evening. My name is Xochitl Torres Small, and it is such an honor to get to be here with all of you today. I am so grateful for the opportunity to run to represent you. I'm here because I grew up in southern New Mexico, and I don't think that we should have to choose between our best opportunities or the best opportunities for our kids and the home that we love. And that too often, that's something that I've heard on the campaign trail. People feel like they have to make that decision because they're concerned about their health care, they're concerned about the best education for their kids, and about our jobs and great careers for our future. My grandparents immigrated here from Mexico. My grandmother was a farm worker, and even though she only had an elementary school education, my dad got to go to college and become a social worker, where I met my mom, who's been a teacher for almost 30 years. When I chose to come back to my home, I had the chance to work with people on solving problems. So we worked hard. I worked with farmers as well as conservationists on riparian habitat restoration. I have experience working on water because it's an issue that is so important to us living here in the desert. And I have experience working across the aisle to build solutions. And so it's such a great opportunity to get to listen to you today, because I think that so much of being a representative is doing the work, coming out and showing up and listening and learning from each other. And that's what we're not seeing enough in Washington. That's why I'm so proud to be here with you today and to start working on solutions. Because I learned a long time ago that good ideas don't come with a party label. We have to be willing to step out of our comfort zones, talk with everyone, and learn from each other. So I'm so grateful for the chance to be here today, and I hope I have the honor of representing you and bringing a strong voice from New Mexico to Washington.
Where do you stand on public lands? Do you support transferring public lands to the state or private ownership?
So I am a strong supporter and a strong user of our public lands. I think it is a key part of our heritage, and especially as a hunter. I know how important it is to use our public lands and to respect them, to make sure that we are using that natural resource. That was something that came up in an earlier discussion. We're using that natural resource to support our economy. I think that the best way to do that is make sure that we are supporting conservation. I support the Oregon Mountains Desert Peaks. I think that we have here in New Mexico great resources and great heritage when it comes to our personal lands, or our public lands. So I'm so excited. I think we know that we need to work together to support them. I think we work with conservation groups, we work with hunting groups to make sure that we're finding the right use for our public lands and that it's a multi-use. That's one of the great things about the BLM, is that we can have multiple uses with ranching as well as with hiking and hunting. We can do all of these things if we work together. Thank you so much.
So, question to you. Where do you stand on public lands? Do you support transferring public lands to the state or private ownership?
I actually have sponsored bills in Santa Fe saying that we need to look at what it would look like to transfer the public lands. I've asked for a study committee to look at how we can manage the lands better on the state and local levels. And here's why. We spend millions of dollars in royalties paid to the federal government for land management on our public lands, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to see the condition of our forests. They are overgrown, they are sick, we are damaging our watersheds. We need to keep the revenues in this state, and you better utilize them in terms of putting them to education, infrastructure. I think that people in Washington who have never been to New Mexico should not be making those decisions. They can be better made by the people who live on or close to the public lands. So yes, I'm an advocate for looking at ways to manage it in a better way, partnering with our federal government, and we already have multiple use. We've had multiple use for over 106 years. So I don't want to see these lands privatized. I want to see them managed in a way that's profitable for our state and for our communities.
Our schools are some of the worst in the nation. What, in your opinion, can be done for the community?
They are the worst in the nation. 50th. I've worked in Santa Fe for the last 8 years, and I see the struggles we've had. Our teachers have been asked to be everything but teachers sometimes. They're being asked to be parents and counselors and nurses and doctors. What we need to do is reform our education system, but that's going to be done at the state level. Now, how we can partner from the federal level and ensure that we have apprenticeship programs and other programs available so that when kids are graduating high school, they will have a skill set. And I commend the schools in Deming after touring these schools just a few weeks ago. I tell you, they have it right. The schools out of this district are coming out with a skill set so they are able to go to work and get jobs that pay way more than minimum wage. We've got to work together from the federal level to ease the size and scope of government and let the decisions be made by the school board and the communities and the parents. But the overhaul is going to take place on the state level, actually, and we can improve the schools here if they need it.
Ms. Small, same question. Our schools are some of the worst in the nation. What, in your opinion, can be done for the community?
This is incredibly important to everyone because all of us depend on a future. And our greatest resource for our future are our children. My mother is a teacher, so I see firsthand the strain that she's under when it comes to the work that she has to do, the administrative burden that has been growing, so she's spending less time planning for what's best for her kids and instead complying with these rigorous administrative issues. I also know how important it is to invest in our future starting early on with early childhood education. So the federal government needs to partner with the state and make sure that we're coordinating so that we have Head Start programs that are reaching new children as opposed to fighting over the same pool. We also need to invest on the other side when it comes to career readiness training, making sure that we have great vocational opportunities, connecting high school students with those, as well as community colleges and four-year degrees. And I had experience doing that when I worked for Senator Udall, making sure that we were investing in education through our higher education program as well. Thank you.
Ms. Small, the next question for you is, how do you plan on improving our healthcare system for all of New Mexicans?
Thank you for that question. There's been a lot of misinformation out there, and so I want to be very clear about where I stand because this is an issue that's important to all New Mexicans. Some of the attack ads out against me have said that have been called complete lies from places like the Las Cruces Sun News. I think there's 4 Pinocchios in the Washington Post. I think we need to focus on making sure that we have affordable health care that's accessible to everyone. And that's why I'll focus on making sure that we have, that we're making sure that everyone has the coverage that they need. And right now, there was a proposal to get rid of healthcare coverage for 50,000 people right here in the district. There's also folks who support allowing plans to cover things and not cover pre-existing conditions. So we know how important that is for all of us, because when you buy a plan, you want to trust that it will be there for you when you get sick. But if you have one of these plans that's allowed right now, you could get sick and then not have the coverage because maybe you had asthma when you were a kid, or maybe you have diabetes. And that's just not how we do things here. So we need to fix the system that we have. Thank you.
Ms. Herrell, same question. How do you plan on improving our healthcare system for all New Mexicans?
I think the way we fix the healthcare system is repeal and replace Obamacare, and how we do that is open up free markets. Because when there's competition for services and products, it drives the price down. So families should be picking their position, their policies, the premiums that work for them. This enhances business opportunity as well. We've saddled our small businesses with expensive healthcare premiums that are impossible. What we need to remember, though, is it is already a federal statute that we will cover pre-existing conditions. So how we need to do this is open up the market to a free enterprise. That way individuals who right now struggle in paying for insurance will have choices. When you have the competition available, you drive the price down. It's like buying a shirt or a vehicle or a house. You shop the market, you pick what's right for you, and you purchase it at an affordable price. We can do that with insurance. Right now there's too much government in our insurance. There's too much government in many avenues of our life, but we can fix this, but we need a free market system to enhance it.
Ms. Small, we'll start with you for closing statements.
Thank you for this opportunity to talk with you. I think the most important thing that we have, and as I've been traveling this enormous district, what I've heard is people are tired of folks who are walking lockstep with any ideology. What's far more important is being willing to problem solve, being willing to work together, being willing to listen to folks, and forge solutions together. And so that's why I'm so grateful to get the chance to talk with all of you, to get to work together, to learn what you want in a representative. Because I know it's so important to listen and work together. I have experience doing that. I've done that growing up here in New Mexico. You know that when you grow up in a tight-knit town, you work with everyone because you know you're going to run into them later on. And so that's the power of our community. Those are New Mexican values that we need to take to Washington, D.C. Thank you so much.
Well, again, thank you so much for having us. I think this gives you kind of a taste of who the candidates are. And again, the shared values and what's important to you has been what's important to me and has driven me to run for office. Coming in with the experience, with the endorsements, the industries, the diversity, the people throughout this district know my hard work, my leadership on the state level. They know that I'm a person of my word and a person of integrity. And I'm honored and humbled by the endorsements that I receive by my colleagues, by the associations throughout the nation. That speaks volumes because they're not handed out, you earn them. And I am just blessed that I have been given an opportunity to serve you not only on the state level, but now potentially on the federal level, because you are my special interest group. You are why I want to run for this position, because we can carry the foundation of what Congressman Pierce has built for us and not reinvent the wheel. We can continue with the efforts for our Native Americans, with our veterans, with the issues that have been very important to here at home, our smaller communities and our industries. So I would humbly ask for mostly your prayers for this race, for this nation, for these candidates that are working so hard. And I would ask for your support and your vote. You deserve the voice in Washington that's going to represent you individually, not the party, the people. This isn't about red or blue. It's about red, white, and blue. And I want to be your voice in Washington.